Step away from the vehicle.
I just came from surgery.
Not my problem.
I'm a surgeon.
Hands where I can see them.
You're making a mistake.
Before this night is over, the officer will lose his badge, his career, and the quiet confidence that power without restraint can protect him. By the time the settlement papers are signed, the number will read $7 million, a figure large enough to haunt every decision that led him here. This is the story of how arrogance metastasizes, how a moment of unchecked ego turns routine authority into professional suicide. It starts in a place designed for healing. The hospital driveway is calm, sterile, almost reverent. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. Inside, a family is still crying tears of relief. A man who should be dead is breathing because of the steady hands of the surgeon now walking toward his car. His shoulders are heavy, not with fear but with exhaustion, the kind earned, the kind that follows precision under pressure. That's when the patrol car rolls in. The officer doesn't see a surgeon. He sees a challenge, scrubs instead of street clothes, confidence instead of compliance, calm where he expects submission, and something in that calm irritates him immediately. This is the first dangerous moment for the officer's career, when perception replaces facts, when bias begins doing the thinking. Step away from the vehicle. The command is sharp, rehearsed. It's not about safety, it's about control. The surgeon turns slowly, palms open, posture upright. His movements are measured, deliberate, not defiant, disciplined. I just came from surgery. The words aren't an excuse, they're context. But context requires listening, and listening requires humility. The officer doesn't have time for either. That's not my problem. This is the second dangerous moment. Dismissal. The officer has decided the narrative before the story has begun. Authority, once activated, becomes predatory when it's no longer curious. The surgeon doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't reach for credentials. He doesn't argue. He stands there, breathing evenly, eyes steady. His dignity is not loud. It doesn't need to be. Calm in moments like this is a weapon, and the officer feels it. You pulled me over in the hospital driveway. A simple statement. A factual one. But facts can feel like insolence to someone who believes questioning equals disrespect. The officer's jaw tightens. His grip adjusts. Authority has been challenged, and now it must be defended. Hands where I can see them. The escalation is immediate, unnecessary, calculated. This is the third dangerous moment, the shift from interaction to confrontation. From public servant to enforcer, every additional command tightens the noose around the officer's future. The surgeon complies, slowly, purposefully. He knows something the officer doesn't, or refuses to acknowledge. The hospital cameras are watching. The entrance is active. Nurses move in the background. Security is never far. I'm a surgeon. I saved a life 10 minutes ago. This isn't pride. It's reality. A reminder that the man in front of him is not a threat, not a criminal, not an object to be handled. It's an invitation to recalibrate. The officer rejects it. You think that makes you special? This is the moment arrogance fully takes the wheel. The fourth dangerous moment. When the officer reframes dignity as entitlement, when competence is interpreted as superiority. His tone hardens, sharpened by ego. The surgeon pauses. Just a beat, not out of fear but calculation. He understands the power imbalance. He understands the psychology unfolding in front of him. I think you're making a mistake. Those words land heavier than shouting ever could, because they imply consequence. And consequences are what fragile authority fears most. The officer's response is immediate. Turn around. You're under arrest. This is the fifth and most lethal moment for the officer's career. The point of no return. The decision that transforms a questionable stop into a constitutional nightmare. Steel meets wrist, cold, public, humiliating. A surgeon, still in scrubs, being handcuffed steps from the operating room. The optics alone are devastating. But the real damage is internal. The officer doesn't see it yet, but every second from here on is being documented, dissected, preserved. The surgeon doesn't resist. This is important. He doesn't pull away. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't beg. His calm becomes unshakable, and in that calm, the imbalance becomes unmistakable. One man clinging to authority, the other anchored in self-control. "Do you know who I am?" the officer demands. The surgeon answers softly. "Yes, you're scared." That lands like a strike. The officer's breathing changes. Faster now, shallower. He steps back as if distance can restore control. His radio crackles at his shoulder. Static. Then a voice. "Unit 12, be advised. Hospital administration is requesting a supervisor." The officer freezes. This is the cliff's edge. A supervisor means review. Review means questions. Questions mean answers. And answers, tonight, are not on his side. The radio crackles again. "CEO is en route." The surgeon looks up for the first time, not at the officer, but toward the hospital doors. The power dynamic has shifted, and the officer knows it. The radio doesn't stop talking. That's the problem. Every crackle tightens the space around the officer's chest. Every syllable from dispatch erodes the illusion that this can still be controlled quietly. His eyes flick toward the hospital doors again, this time not with authority, but with calculation. He knows what those doors represent. Not just witnesses, power, institutional power, the kind that doesn't shout, the kind that buries you in paperwork and never lets you resurface. This is the moment his career truly begins to collapse. The surgeon remains still. Hands cuffed behind his back, spine straight, chin level. His calm has shifted from defensive to surgical. He says nothing now because he doesn't need to. Silence, at this stage, is lethal. A pair of nurses stop walking. A security guard slows, pretending not to stare. The officer feels it, the attention, the weight, the quiet judgment. He clears his throat. "You want to explain why you were being uncooperative?" he asks. It's not a question. It's a plea disguised as authority. The surgeon turns his head just enough to acknowledge him. "I complied with every command." That sentence is precise, minimal, factual. It's designed for later, for transcripts, depositions, boardrooms. This is the sixth dangerous moment for the officer, when the subject starts speaking like a witness instead of a suspect. The automatic doors slide open. The hospital CEO doesn't rush. That detail matters. He walks with controlled urgency, flanked by legal counsel and security. His suit is immaculate. His expression is unreadable. He takes in the scene in seconds. The cuffs, the scrubs, the badge number already being discreetly noted by someone behind him. "What's going on here?" the CEO asks. The officer answers too quickly. "Sir, he was obstructive, refused to comply." The lie is reflexive, sloppy, and deadly. The surgeon doesn't interrupt. He doesn't contradict. He lets the words hang unsupported, because lies require reinforcement. Truth doesn't. The CEO turns to him. "Doctor, are you injured?" "No," the surgeon says, "but my patient is still in recovery. I was leaving post-op." That's it. No accusation, no emotion, just context. And context detonates everything. This is the seventh dangerous moment, the arrival of a credible authority who doesn't answer to the badge. The CEO looks back at the officer. "On what grounds was he detained?" The officer hesitates, a half-second too long. "Failure to obey a lawful order," he says. "Which order?" the CEO asks calmly. Silence. The officer shifts his weight. His jaw tightens again, but this time it's not anger, it's panic. His mind races, trying to reconstruct a justification that will survive scrutiny. It can't, because there isn't one. A supervisor pulls up, doors slam, the sound echoes. The supervisor approaches, already reading the room. He sees the cuffs, the scrubs, the CEO. His expression hardens, not at the surgeon, but at his own officer. "What happened?" the supervisor asks. The officer starts again, louder this time, more forceful, authority as volume. The supervisor raises a hand. "Stop!" That word lands harder than any command issued tonight. This is the 8th dangerous moment, when internal authority overrides external bravado, when the badge stops protecting and starts testifying. The supervisor turns to the surgeon. "Sir, did you resist at any point?" "No." "Did you threaten the officer?" "No." "Did you refuse to identify yourself?" "No." Each answer is clean, controlled, recorded. The supervisor nods once, then looks at the cuffs. "Remove them." The officer doesn't move. "I said remove them," the supervisor repeats. Slowly, reluctantly, the officer steps forward. His hands tremble as he unlocks the cuffs. The metal falls away with a dull clink. It's loud in the quiet. The surgeon rubs his wrists once, then drops his hands to his sides. He doesn't gloat. He doesn't smile. That restraint will matter later. The CEO steps closer now. "We will be filing a formal complaint tonight." The officer opens his mouth, closes it. This is the 9th dangerous moment, when consequences are no longer hypothetical. Within weeks, the bodycam footage will surface. Analysts will pause on the moment the officer says, "You think that makes you special?" Civil attorneys will circle it in red. Training supervisors will wince. Comment sections will ignite. Within months, internal affairs will conclude what was obvious from the start. No probable cause, no threat, no justification. The officer will claim stress, misinterpretation, split-second judgment. It won't matter. The lawsuit will be efficient, brutal. $7 million to avoid trial, to prevent a jury from hearing how a life-saving surgeon was treated like a criminal because calm confidence was mistaken for defiance. The officer will resign before termination. His badge will go into a drawer, his name into databases, his career into a cautionary tale used in training seminars he'll never attend. And the surgeon? He'll return to work the next morning. Same hands, same calm, same dignity, because power, when wielded without restraint, always exposes itself, and arrogance, left unchecked, always leaves a paper trail. The footage doesn't explode online all at once. It leaks, first to internal review, then to a local reporter with a law enforcement source, then to a civil rights attorney who already knows exactly what he's looking at before he presses play. By the time the public sees it, the outcome is already sealed. The officer watches it alone. That matters. He sits in a small room with gray walls and no windows, replaying the same 23 seconds again and again. Not the arrest. Not the cuffs. The moment before all of that. You think that makes you special? He hears it now the way everyone else will hear it, not as authority, not as confidence, but as contempt, as bias slipping through the cracks, as ego speaking out loud. This is the 10th dangerous moment, when the officer realizes the story no longer belongs to him. Internal affairs doesn't yell. They never do. They ask questions slowly, methodically, like surgeons. They ask why he escalated, why he dismissed context, why he interpreted calm as threat, why he arrested a man with no criminal indicators, no aggression, no resistance. Every answer he gives sounds weaker than the last. Stress, long shift, high crime area. None of it explains the tone. None of it explains the choice. The department places him on administrative leave, paid, for now. The union advises silence, damage control. Wait it out. But this case isn't about policy violations. It's about optics, credibility, and a narrative the department cannot defend. The surgeon, meanwhile, never gives a press conference. Another deliberate choice. He lets the facts speak, lets the footage breathe, lets the contrast do the work. A man who saves lives restrained in a hospital driveway by an officer who couldn't restrain himself. This is the 11th dangerous moment, the asymmetry of restraint. One man says less and gains power. The other said too much and lost it. When the lawsuit is filed, it's surgical. Excessive detention, false arrest, civil rights violations, emotional distress, reputational harm, each claim backed by timestamps, witnesses, policies the officer signed but didn't follow. The number, 7 million, doesn't come from outrage. It comes from risk assessment. A jury would see the scrubs, hear the tone, watch the calm compliance, and then hear the words that should never have been spoken by someone entrusted with authority. You think that makes you special? The city settles, quietly. The officer resigns 2 days later. Not fired. Resigned. On paper, it sounds softer. In reality, it's the end. No lateral transfers. No clean slate. Every background check will include this incident. Every interview will circle back to it. This is the 12th and final dangerous moment, the realization that power is temporary, but records are permanent. Years later, this clip will still circulate, used in academies, in legal trainings, in documentaries dissecting how authority fails when ego replaces judgment. Replayed not for shock, but for instruction. The surgeon will never be known for this incident. That's important. He will be known for his work, his discipline, his composure under pressure, because dignity doesn't need vindication. It survives scrutiny. The officer will be known only for this. One stop, one decision, one sentence. That's all it took, because careers don't usually end with explosions. They end with moments. And this one was caught on camera.